This is online lecture on harmonic distortion by Professor Tanuja Indate from Electrical Engineering Department, K.K. Wagh Institute of Engineering Education and Research, Nasik. This is the elective 1 course in 7th semester of Electrical Engineering degree, having course objectives as prescribed by the university in the curriculum. The objectives of this lecture are defining harmonics, classifying harmonics, evaluation of effects of harmonic distortion on active and reactive power, and describe the concept of true power factor. Now, what are harmonics? Since the non-linearity of the loads are increasing, the loads are drawing non-sinusoidal current from the sinusoidal supply. So even when input supply voltage is sinusoidal like this, the currents which are drawn by the loads which are non-linear in nature are of this kind, which are non-sinusoidal. If we go for Fourier analysis of such waveforms, we can split them such waveforms into number of sinusoidal waveforms which are added together, but they are of different frequencies. So for understanding the behavior or performance of the equipment when they are designed for taking sinusoidal currents, but in the contrary they are getting non-sinusoidal currents, so what would be the impact on performance of the equipment? For understanding that, we are splitting this using Fourier series, and we are representing this current as if it is sum of simultaneous currents which are flowing in the system, one of desired frequency which is sinusoidal of particular frequency which is our power supply frequency, and the multiple integer multiples of this frequency. So we can see we call them harmonics. So by definition, harmonics are integer multiples of the input power frequency. These are the mainly defined as currents, assuming that input supply voltage is purely sinusoidal and still the loads are drawing non-sinusoidal current. So we can see this can be split as addition of fundamental, we call it the power frequency as fundamental, it could be 50 Hz or 60 Hz. So fundamental frequency and integer multiples of that frequency which is indicated by harmonic order by H. So if it is third order, its frequency would be 3 times, it would be 5 times if it is a fifth order harmonic, 7 times if it is 7th order harmonic, and so on. And so we can see that when we add all these currents together, we get this kind of non-sinusoidal current. This is the concept of harmonics. Now what happens to these harmonics, though we say that in such systems, assuming that input source is offering pure sinusoidal voltage and then we have it transmitted to the load end. When the load is connected to at this node, which is non-linear in nature, this current will be drawing currents which are distorted or non-linear in nature. When these distorted currents are flowing through this transmission network, they come across the line impedances like in the form of resistance and reactance, line reactance, and I into impedance becomes the voltage drop. So the voltage which is available at this junction would be input supply voltage which is pure sinusoidal minus the drop taking place which will be current which is non-sinusoidal multiplied by the impedance. So this voltage drop also becomes non-sinusoidal in nature. When subtracted from sinusoidal input voltage, the voltage reaching at this end also becomes non-sinusoidal in nature to some extent or distorted. Now when the load is receiving such distorted voltage, we have realized that this non-linear load drew non-sinusoidal current, and as a result of this, the voltage also is getting distorted. In case there is other load which is connected at this junction, which could be linear in nature, which is supposed to draw sinusoidal current from the sinusoidal input supply voltage, but since it is receiving distorted voltage, it also will be drawing distorted current even when the load is linear. So this is the effect of harmonic currents flowing through the system. So when harmonic currents are flowing in the system, they result into voltage distortion. So first it starts with current distortion and it results into voltage distortion. This needs to be understood, and because of which we are always worried about harmonics. Now when we try classifying these harmonics, they could be classified based on various principles. In case we say, the way we mentioned, it could be voltage harmonic or current harmonic because they are seen in both the cases. They could be classified as odd and even harmonics because, as we have seen, since we said it is integer multiple of the input supply frequency, the integers could be odd or it could be even. If we multiply the input frequency by even number, it becomes even harmonic order. If we multiply it by odd number, it becomes odd harmonics. So naturally, third order, fifth order, seventh order, ninth order are odd harmonics, whereas second order, fourth order, sixth order, eighth order, so on are even harmonics. So this is one of the classifications, odd and even harmonics, based on the harmonic order H, which could be odd or even. Third classification is called as characteristic or non-characteristic harmonics. Now what are these characteristic harmonics? The harmonics which are generated by some nonlinear loads like a rectifier. The rectifier will be drawing current, and we can define the order of harmonic which will be generated in this current by using some equation of this kind, which we can write harmonic order which is present in the rectifier current can be defined as H equal to Nk plus minus 1. Now what is this N? N is the pulse number of the rectifier, and K in general can be taken as 1, 2, 3 as integer numbers. In case we try calculating it for 6 pulse rectifier, what does this result into? It becomes 6K plus minus 1. When we take K equal to 1, 6 plus minus 1 becomes 5th and 7th order. Then it becomes 11th and 13th order. When we take K equal to 2, 6 into 2 plus minus 1, it will give 11 and 13. When K is equal to 3, it becomes 17th and 19th order. It tells us that characteristic harmonics are the harmonics which can be defined by using such equation. They can be put in the equation, and only particular order harmonics will be generated when we have a particular number of rectifier, pulse number of the rectifier. So those are called as characteristic harmonics, which can be defined by such equation. And all remaining harmonics which does not fit in this equation will be called as non-characteristic harmonics. Okay. The next classification is based on the sequence component harmonics. The harmonics can be classified as positive sequence, negative sequence and zero sequence harmonics. Now how do we classify them into these three categories? We will be studying in the next slide. There is one more classification which is recently added as interharmonics and subharmonics. Though these are some frequencies in the in-between bands, so they do not fit into the definition which we have said, that integer multiples, but they would be taking in-between frequency bands. When we go from third order to fifth order, in between third to fourth order, in between frequencies would be called as interharmonics, whereas subharmonics would be lower frequencies than our fundamental frequencies. So recently the study also has been continued for interharmonic and subharmonic contributions, but we are restricting right now only to the integer multiple of input supply frequency. Now what do we mean by triplen harmonics? This is a special category of odd harmonics. If we say triplen means something to relate with order 3. If we take odd multiples of order 3, the numbers would be 3, 9, 15, 21. We can notice that we have not taken even multiples. So 6 is not there, okay? 12 is not there, 18 is not there, which are even harmonics. We are taking only odd multiples of order 3 for a specific reason, that triplets will be taken only 3, 9, 15, 21 as odd multiples of order 3. Now what are these triplets? Why they are given special category? These are the frequencies. When we multiply, the frequencies would be h times f1, as we said, for all harmonics. So they will take frequencies 3 times fundamental, 9 times fundamental, 15 times fundamental, and so on. And their amplitude would be the fundamental amplitude divided by the harmonic order. This is true. These two expressions are true for all harmonic orders. Now, what is the speciality of triplen? They are zero sequence components. All triplen harmonics are zero sequence in nature. They are scalar quantities and they add up to cause increase in neutral current in case of grounded Y system. So they are given special category and they pose problems in case of such neutral grounded systems, because if we see here what happens as per the Kirchhoff's current law, we say that for all symmetrical and balanced systems, the sum of all currents at this junction N should be 0. Okay. May it be a positive sequence current or negative sequence current, they still maintain that 120 degrees displacement, and so they follow Kirchhoff's law. Sum of all such currents at this junction would be 0 and there will be no neutral current. But what happens with the triplen components? Since they are zero sequence components, they are all scalar quantities, they do not have any angular displacement, and at this junction point all three zero sequence components add together to become 3 times zero sequence component current in the neutral. So suddenly when the system becomes unbalanced, or it is because of the harmonics which are present, in both cases the neutral current starts flowing and its magnitude is 3 times, because 3 triplen magnitudes have added together, and so current in the neutral increases. So this current, neutral current, contains no fundamental but is 300% of third harmonic phase current, and so the magnitude of neutral current increases, which is not expected. Neutral current is expected ideally to be 0, and such increase of neutral current has started showing problem of neutral burnouts. Okay, so this problem was seen, and then triplen harmonics are given this special category. Whenever there are triplens, such problems are seen. Now, as I said, the harmonic phase sequences, how to decide whether a particular order harmonic has, whether it is positive sequence, negative sequence or zero sequence nature. For positive sequence, we know it could be a phase sequence of A, B, C, which we normally say is a positive sequence, phase sequence, where phase A is reference, phase B lags behind by 120 degrees and phase C is leading by 120 degrees or lagging by minus 240 degrees. Same. For negative sequence, it is reverse. Now this ABC does not remain ABC, it becomes ACB. Okay, so it's a negative sequence. So it will have phase displacement as 0 as A as a reference. The next phase would be leading by 120 degrees because it would be C. Here it should have been C and B here. Okay, negative sequence. And here it is B, which is lagging by 120 degrees. So if you see the angular displacement, it becomes 0, plus 120 and minus 120. You can imagine the rotation is reversed. This is anti-clockwise rotation. This becomes clockwise rotation for negative sequence. For zero sequence, it has no angular displacement. So it becomes 0, 0, 0. That means these are scalar quantities and they are all in phase. So when we try, as I said earlier, when we try adding these three quantities together, these positive and negative sequence components, they follow Kirchhoff's current law, and sum of these three currents would be 0 because they are maintaining the phase sequence, though the sense for negative sequence would be opposite rotation. But sum of all three currents would be 0 at the neutral point. That is not the case with zero sequence, and so they add up. Now, how to calculate a particular order of harmonic, whether it is positive or negative sequence? Suppose I take harmonic order H to be 2. So, H would be multiplying to these angles. So, the angles will become 2 into the normal phase sequence which we are taking as 0, minus 20 plus 120 multiplied by 2. So, this results into 2 into 0, 0, 2 into minus 120 becomes minus 240, and 0 into plus 20 becomes plus 240. We know that minus 240 can be written as plus 120, plus 240 can be written as minus 120. So, what we result into is a negative phase sequence. So, we can say that second order harmonic would have nature of negative sequence. Let us check again. If it is a third order, again multiply it with the basic positive sequence phase displacements, then we get 0, minus 360 and plus 360. We know that these are all 0 zeros, 360 minus 360 is a reference value, and so it results into 0, 0, 0. That means third order is a 0 sequence. So this is a triplen. When we take H equal to 3, it is a 0 sequence, we say it is a triplen. Like that we can try calculating for order 4, 5, 6 and so on, and we will realize that if we take H equal to 4, it will result into a positive sequence. Okay. But now if we see harmonics of order H equal to 1, 7, 13 are generally positive sequence. Okay. Harmonics of order 5, 11, 17 are generally negative sequence. Now you will realize that here no even order harmonic is considered, and even triplens are not considered in this. So triplens are given as a special category because they fall into 0 sequence. So triplens are all odd multiples of 3, and so we are taking these as 0 sequence. Triplens are always 0 sequence, and so we are taking. Now why we are not considering even order harmonics in any of these analysis? There is a reason that for symmetrical and balanced systems, when we assume it is having, like, our input supply is symmetrical around x-axis and positive half cycle is exactly similar to negative half cycle around x-axis, they maintain that odd symmetry. This is called as odd symmetry. When the input supply is having such nature, in Fourier analysis we realize that no even harmonics are present, and so we are assuming our supply system to have this symmetry, and so we are not considering any even harmonics in the analysis. So we are getting only odd harmonics, and we are doing all the analysis with odd harmonics. There is no doubt that this is only ideal situation. Practically, there may be, when we measure, there could be presence of some even harmonics due to some unsymmetry and unbalance in the system. Now moving ahead, the main problem of these harmonics, that when we understand the power system quantities under non-sinusoidal conditions, because when we say harmonics, the currents drawn are surely non-sinusoidal in nature. What happens to the powers which we calculate and understand in sinusoidal case? Now we have defined three powers as active, reactive and apparent power. So let us revise. The apparent power, which we always measure as volt amperes, is the product of RMS voltage and RMS current. Okay. Active power, which we denote as P and measure in watts, is the average rate of delivery of energy, is by definition. Whereas reactive power Q, which is volt ampere reactive, or we write it as VAR, the portion of the apparent power that is out of phase or in quadrature with the active power. Okay, so by definition we know that P and Q, these two components are having quadrature relation. They are having 90 degrees displacement, and then vector addition of these two is equal to the apparent power S. And so we write S as V RMS into I RMS by definition. And when we try writing V RMS and I RMS, we know as long as our system is having pure sinusoidal voltages and currents, V RMS and I RMS we directly calculate as V1, which is the fundamental voltage component, divided by root 2 as VRMS, and current would be fundamental current at fundamental frequency 50 Hz divided by root 2. Now as long as the system is purely sinusoidal, you need not worry about rest of these components, because these come into picture only when they are having harmonics. So V2 square, V3 square, VH square, these are the representative or contributions of other frequencies, second order, third order and higher order harmonic voltages added to the fundamental sinusoidal fundamental frequency voltage, which is V1. Same is true for current. I1 is the fundamental frequency current, whereas I2 square, I3 square all are harmonic currents which are added. So with harmonics, the VRMS value naturally would be increased because it is also having contribution from other frequency voltage sources. Same is true for IRMS, that IRMS value will surely increase with harmonics. And so this is the effect of harmonics which are present in voltage and current. Now when we, in case of sinusoidal, this is again a revision, when we calculate active power, we know it is rate at which energy is expended, dissipated or consumed by the load. So we use different terminology, but we know that this is the power which is available to the load for conversion into other forms, and which can be calculated as P as the average calculated for instantaneous value of voltage and instantaneous value of current, taking this product, and over the complete cycle we are integrating, dividing for averaging, we are dividing it by the time period. So this is the definition of calculation of active power. For sinusoidal load, the average active power which we use by calculation is only fundamental voltage, fundamental current magnitude divided by 2, because this should be RMS value. So V1 upon root 2 into I1 upon root 2 becomes V1 I1 upon 2 multiplied by cos of angle phi 1 theta 1 between V1 and I1. Okay, so when we write this expression, we write it as V1 RMS into I1 RMS into cos theta 1, where theta is the angle between these two quantities. Okay, and so in general we can write this S is the apparent power, which is product of both RMS values, into cos theta. This becomes the definition of power when it is sinusoidal case. Now when we calculate reactive power on the same lines, we write V1 I1 by 2 sin theta 1 as the reactive power Q, and it is contribution of only fundamental components, and so it is V1 RMS I1 RMS into sin theta 1. Same angle theta 1 between these two quantities, and so we can calculate Q. In normal sinusoidal case, there are no other frequencies available, and so this becomes our active and reactive power. And apparent power is the vector addition of P and Q, so we can write it as P plus JQ, or we can write S equal to under root P square plus Q square, as we are all aware of. And so S is the resultant of vector addition of P and Q, where angle between P and S is theta, okay, which we call as power factor angle, which is theta 1 in this case. So this could have been theta 1. Okay. Now what happens in case of non-sinusoidal condition? The definitions remain same, but now what happens is P is the contribution of not only fundamental but all frequency active power components, and so we need to add V1 I1 cos theta 1, V3 I3 cos theta 3, Understand that we have not taken even order V2 I2 cos theta 2 we have not considered for the reason which I have mentioned earlier. We are assuming that only odd harmonics are present. So V5 I5 cos theta 5. Now you can realize that each of this voltage and current and the angle are different from each other because their frequencies are different. And so while adding them together to evaluate the total power, which is contribution of all frequency active power components, P calculated in non-sinusoidal condition would be result of all this. Similarly, when we calculate Q, it is the sum of reactive power at all frequencies. Again we have to take V1 I1 sin theta 1 plus V3 I3 sin theta 3 plus V5 and so on for all frequency components. Whereas a new concept of distortion power comes into picture, because now when we are taking only V3 I3 sin theta 3, we are imagining as if this frequency component is restricting itself only to have this product as V3 I3 sin theta 3. Whereas the distortion power concept is such that it is the volt ampere, where it will be product of voltage and current, representing all cross products of voltage and currents at different frequencies. So we cannot assume that only those frequency voltage and currents can get multiplied, but they will also have interaction with other frequency components, and so they become the cross products of voltage and currents at different frequencies. Now since by definition we cannot have any such quantity added into P or Q which does not belong to same frequency. For understanding of phase difference between two quantities, it is most essential that they should have same frequency, otherwise we cannot compare their phases. And so this cross product cannot be included as a power either into P or into Q. So it becomes something else which is now termed as distortion power. And its calculation or measurement was not possible directly, but the formula which we have written now for apparent power appears to have sum of P square plus Q square plus distortion power square whole under root. Now when we take under root, it means that the distortion power is also having displacement like P and Q, with each other having 90 degrees displacement. D also is showing third axis, which is having 90 degrees displacement with P as well as Q. So when we write S now, it could be written as having three components: active power, reactive power and distortion power. So this is a new concept for explaining what is happening in non-sinusoidal conditions. This new term has been coined, which is called as distortion power. Now by definition, when we calculate Q, it is the sum of, we have already seen, sum of all V into I into sin theta k, where k takes different values, like this summation. And now distortion power can be calculated indirectly as under root S square minus P square minus Q square. Now S is the apparent power which is available from input source. P is the total active power which would be delivered to the load as a result of all frequency components. Q would be all reactive power added with all frequency components, and so we take subtraction of S square minus P square minus Q square. It results into distortion power. So it is indirect calculation of distortion power, and its representation could be like this. S is the sum of all three, P and Q and D all added together vectorially results into S. Now D represents all cross products of voltage and current at different frequencies, and so it yields no average power. So it cannot have any effective or average value calculated. It is only power which is not getting available for the load either in active or reactive form. So this is the concept of active, reactive and distortion power. Now since this is the effect, it also affects the power factor. Earlier we were calculating power factor as the ratio of useful power to perform real work, which is active power, to power supplied by utility, which is apparent power. So as long as the system was simple, the power factor calculation was easy, it was P by S. In sinusoidal case, power factor is a cosine of phase angle, because when we take P by S, it can be represented as cos of theta, which is theta is the angle between voltage and current. So we simply kept on saying power factor, we forgot this definition and we simply started saying power factor is cos theta. But in non-sinusoidal case, the power factor is calculated considering total active power from all frequencies, and hence it is called as true power factor. So this cos theta will be only between two fundamental components, voltage and current, V1, I1. But now this cannot be the definition of power factor, because we need to accommodate all active power from all frequencies which are available, and so it is called as true power factor. So new term has been coined, and the true power factor measurement becomes essential, because many a times if we measure by conventional methods, that power factor may give a wrong picture. Like in case of switched mode power supplies and PWM adjustable speed drives, they have near unity power factor. Okay, it appears as if they are offering unity power factor. That means all the available powers, apparent power, is available to the load for conversion as active power. This is the meaning of unity power factor. But when we measure true power factor, because both of these are nonlinear loads and they must be surely drawing harmonic currents, so true power factor becomes 0.5 or 0.6. It means that only about half or 0.6 means 60% is the active power out of apparent power. That is the meaning. So if we are measuring it as unity power factor, it is not a true picture. Now true power factor cannot be improved by using capacitors. Like we always use capacitors for power factor improvement devices, but that cannot be done in case of for improving true power factor, as it corrects only Q1, which is a fundamental component, because when we connect capacitor, it is designed to give reactive power only for that design, that frequency, fundamental frequency, which is negligible due to unity power factor. It may increase distortion, because when we connect capacitor, it starts attracting more harmonics. Capacitor acts as a harmonic source, sink, and so it may increase the distortion and degrade the power factor. This is another case if resonance occurs. So resonance is another possibility when we connect a capacitor. The capacitive reactance and the source inductance can form resonant condition. It could be series resonance, or in some cases parallel resonance condition, where the resonance must be avoided because it draws very heavy current. This is another problem. Now true power factor indicates how large power delivery system must be built to supply given load. So as I said, if it is only half the active power which is available delivered to the load, it indicates how large power delivery system must be built to supply given load. So as per the load requirements, we should not get fooled by only measuring as if it is unity power factor, but true power factor must be used for actually getting a true picture of designing the power delivery system. Like in above example, unity power factor may be misleading as false sense of security. We will be assuming that the power is available and system is capable of delivering the load as per the required power, but it is delivering only 50 or 60%. Additional current flowing in system. Now why additional current will flow in system? Because we said that RMS value of current would be more as we add all harmonic components, all frequency components together to get the RMS value. Additional current flowing in system due to distortion causing power loss. So all I square losses would increase with increased RMS value of current which is flowing in the system. Transmission power loss will increase, needing larger system capacity to deliver load than if no distortion case. If there is no distortion, the current would be only because of fundamental component or one frequency, and its RMS value will be less as compared to RMS value which is flowing in the system with increased harmonic components, and so it will require larger system capacity. So this is the effect of harmonics. Now if we have understood this, you can also check the reference material. Now this reference material is available from the university syllabus as textbooks and reference books, and I have used some of the links. This is a paper which is available. You can also refer this paper for understanding the concept of calculation of active, reactive and distortion powers in non-sinusoidal situations. Okay, so I have used this paper as a reference. Thank you.